Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from the blog. South Korea sees first institutional sell crypto holdings since ban lift. So World Vision Korea sold 0.55 ETH on Upbit exchange, becoming the first institution to sell its crypto holdings since the phased lifting of the ban on institutional crypto trading. South Korea plans to allow publicly listed firms to trade crypto in the second half of this year. And that's big because South Korea absolutely loves XRP. And we're going to see institutions in South Korea buying XRP in the second half of this year. That's where I see this going. BlackRock's IBIT inflow streak snaps as $430 million exits in one day. That happened on May 30th. Now, here's the way I look at these ETFs. Right now, people are still excited about the Bitcoin ETFs. But I think there's going to be more demand for the XRP ETFs. And I even think some of this money that's sitting in Bitcoin ETFs might flow into XRP ETFs once they go live. We got to wait and see where this goes from here. But I'm expecting the XRP ETFs to do at least a 4x of what the Bitcoin ETFs did. Remember all that hype back at the beginning of 2024 when these Bitcoin ETFs were brand new? How much money was flowing in? Wait until the XRP ETFs go live. Bitwise CIO says the XRP community is the key reason behind XRP's huge success. So this is coming from Matt Hoogan. He says, I think the XRP world is embracing the idea that Bitcoin and XRP serve different markets and that Bitcoin thriving doesn't disrupt what XRP aims to achieve. I would agree with that. I think they're two different markets. I think people that hold Bitcoin and made a lot of money in Bitcoin, they're never going to see past Bitcoin anyway. It's the new retail investors coming into this space. Those are the people that I try to educate about Bitcoin because it's not up only. That's like a pipe dream that the Bitcoin maxis like to sell. But I do believe that Bitcoin, its future is running across the XRP ledger and other networks. This way people can actually transact in Bitcoin. And they could do it in a matter of seconds for less than a penny. That's going to be game-changing for Bitcoin in the future. Right now, the maxis are too prideful to use the XRP ledger. But it's going to end up that way anyway. Because when you could move Bitcoin the same way you could move XRP, why wouldn't people do it? Uphold says, real estate, title deeds, full on-chain, backed by government running on the XRP ledger. Fractional ownership is now live. Builders take note. There's going to be so much value coming from tokenized assets, coming from deeds, coming from all directions to these networks. And it's not just going to be the XRP ledger. This is going to be happening on the Stellar network, XDC network, Hedera network, Algorand, IOTA, ADA, because these are the networks that are built for the future. Tokenization, once it really starts to pick up momentum, people are going to realize that they shouldn't have been ignoring tokenization. It's the future. Everybody wants to get involved in this because it opens up the entire world of investing. In other words, it's no longer accredited investors, it's retail investors, it's the everyday working person that wants to invest money into something they're interested in, whether it be somebody's music, whether it be movies that are being made. They're going to be tokenizing their own assets. People are going to be able to tokenize maybe 10% of their house if they need money quick. And then they, over time, buy those tokens back. There's going to be so many options. We are so early to tokenization still. Black Swan Capitalist put out 2 separate posts today. He said, if the dollar collapses, Tether collapses with it because it's backed by dollar-denominated assets. And if Tether goes down, so does the fake liquidity propping up Bitcoin. Bitcoin won't become the default currency. It's volatile, slow, and too dependent on legacy liquidity. You know, that's one other issue I have with Bitcoin. Bitcoin maxis sell the idea that the US dollar is doomed. But if the US dollar dies, what happens with Bitcoin? It's going to die with the US dollar. And now the dollar is transitioning because we are on the verge of a digital dollar. So how is that going to affect the price of Bitcoin? We really don't know yet. Then he went on to say this. If the world no longer wants the dollar, Tether collapses, and with it, Bitcoin's fake liquidity. XRP doesn't rely on dollar-denominated assets. It bridges currencies using real-time liquidity. Bitcoin is static, XRP is dynamic. That's why XRP wins. XRP is actually going to strengthen the dollar in its current form or digital form. If RLUSD becomes the digital dollar, XRP will still move it. Even right now, you could go from US dollars into XRP and come out on the other side as the euro, the pound, any other currency. Same thing with tokenized assets. You could move a tokenized asset from point A to point B utilizing XRP. That's what makes this cryptocurrency great. Why are credit debit card? What are crypto debit cards and how they work and where to use them? Now here's the thing about crypto debit cards. You're still moving the crypto into US dollars. A lot of people don't realize that. They think they're shopping with crypto directly. I think that will happen in the future. You'll have your crypto wallet, the merchant will have their crypto wallet. You'll go directly from your wallet to the merchant's wallet without a middleman. But right now, here's how crypto debit cards work. You use your crypto debit card. It only has $1,000, but $5,000 is needed. So you go to your crypto.com app. Now, from your app, you will say sell ETH equivalent to $4,000. Those sold ETH will convert to real USD. Now, using crypto.com app, you can transfer that fund into your debit card. Your card has a $5,000 balance. You can pay the shop owner in USD. So all you're doing is selling crypto into a stablecoin, then using the stablecoin to shop at the merchant. And that's how they work. Now, in the future, I think this will advance. And there's other problems with crypto debit cards as well. The biggest problem is this. You have hacking risk. You also have regulatory uncertainty still. You have acceptance limitations. In other words, if it's not a Visa debit card or MasterCard debit card, there could be some issues with that. But if it has the Visa logo or the MasterCard logo, I don't see anywhere it wouldn't be accepted. And then there's the transaction fees. Some cards may impose high crypto to fiat conversion fees. Review the fee structure carefully to avoid unexpected cost. And that is also an issue because you're going to be selling crypto into a stablecoin to use the debit card. Then there's tax implications of using a crypto debit card because we are still paying for transactions from our crypto account. So using a crypto debit card is a taxable event as you sell crypto to convert it into fiat for transactions. This can result in capital gain or loss, depending on the difference between the crypto's purchase price and its value at the time of use. However, the exact tax implications depends on local regulations. Some card issuers provide 1099 forms summarizing your income from crypto sales to the IRS in the United States. Like Uphold, they report to the IRS. Coinbase, they report to the IRS. Others do it as well. Because it's like you're selling your crypto every time you make a transaction. That's why it's a taxable event. And honestly, most XRP holders, they're going to have long-term capital gains, not short-term. Because if they were buying when XRP was like at 50 cents, you're a long-term XRP holder. If you're buying recently, you will have short-term capital gains once XRP breaks out. But it's always first in, first out. So even if you bought XRP today, say you bought XRP at 50 cents, right? And then you bought more XRP today. When you sell, if you don't sell your whole bag, right? What's gonna go out first is the long-term hold of XRP, not the short term. So that's one thing you could think about when you're selling to take profit in the next run up. It's always whatever you bought first sells first. That's how it should be. That's what Uphold has said in the past. Now, I don't know if they made changes to that over time because I don't store crypto on Uphold. I buy it there and I get it off of there because you don't know what's going to happen when these cryptocurrencies go parabolic. Some exchanges are going to be down when that happens. We watched it happen last year multiple times with Coinbase when Bitcoin was reaching new all-time highs. It can happen again. New York City man lost $114,000, his entire 401k, after his physical check from Paychex got stolen and cashed. Whenever they put out these articles like this, it shows you the need to go digital. And I think that's why you see articles like this. Because they're like, well, if we didn't have to send you a physical check, we could have just moved the money into your checking account or your savings account. But this is going to continue to happen. But we are moving away from paper. Everything's going digital. Even inside trade, there's so much paper. They're going to eliminate that in the very near future. That's where XDC is really going to shine. But it's going to be everything going into digital. Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft shareholders all overwhelmingly rejected a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And the reason that they're doing this is because these companies know that Bitcoin is up and down. They know if they were to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve right now, they're buying the top. Maybe it does a 2x from here. But if you put the same money into something like XRP and you create an XRP strategic reserve, you can actually utilize that XRP. Meta wants to get involved with cross-border payments. I'm sure Amazon would also be looking at cross-border payments as well. And that is the future. And I think a lot of these companies know that. And to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, what are you going to do with it? The price is going to crash down, and then you wait 4 years for the price to go back up. If it goes back up. Because like I said, I still think that utility is going to change the 4-year cycle. And I'm sure that these companies know that. This is a great clip. So do you think XRP is a scam? I know Bitcoin is bullshit, but it's bullshit enough that people believe it. You got to hear this. Now, I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked because their mindset is that no one's ever going to use XRP. Yet we already know central bank digital currencies are getting built out on the XRP ledger. Some banks already announced that they're utilizing XRP internally as well, like Bank of America. But take a listen to this.
Pods is okay, but in general, this company hasn't done something new in 20 years almost.
Do you think XRP is a scam?
I do.
Why?
It doesn't do anything. Nobody uses it. I think that Bitcoin is a lot like that too, but it's more Lindy for one. There's a greater, it's a widely distributed thing. I have a friend who owns over $1 billion of Bitcoin, and he's a famous entrepreneur. We actually mentioned his name in this podcast at one point. And, he said, Martin, I know Bitcoin's bullshit. But it's bullshit enough people believe. And I don't disagree. I love Bitcoin in one part of my mind. In the other part of my mind, I agree with Warren Buffett. I mean, what the fuck is it? It's nothing. It's like old, crappy database, hard to update, hard to maintain. And I think one of the bearish things for Bitcoin, just to put a bow on this, is interesting, is when people figure out that those Satoshi tokens are gone, it's a big bearish catalyst, because it's not so much that the tokens get sold. Yes, they might cause a panic sale or whatever. It'll bounce back from that. Even if they sell it to $1, they're going to walk it right back up. The bigger problem is that Satoshi is the mythology. The mythos of Bitcoin is a big part of it. Here's this mystery man that drops money, the new money on us, and disappears. He doesn't even sell his own tokens. He just drops 100 billion too and says, I don't need it. Right. Maybe he's dead, maybe he's not. Point is, when elliptic curve cryptography and Shor's algorithm that cracks it, that existed at the time Satoshi wrote Bitcoin. Shor's algorithm goes back to the 90s. He should have known this was a problem. And he left these Bitcoin there anyway. So the more we crack the Satoshi myth, that he was this mythological god, and more realize that he was just a dude, he was a programmer, he made mistakes, that maybe it becomes one of these things that was like, why are we all kind of like, putting trillions of dollars in the whole financial system on this code that we can't update, that has flaws? And what happens if another computer, a probabilistic computer, a thermodynamic computer, whatever kind of computer we don't even think about, what if that cracks the rest of the 91% of Bitcoin? What do we do then? Do we just censor the Bitcoin we don't like? It's not the perfect system at all. And, but it's hard to crack the mythology of it. That's what keeps a bunch of it going. That's what keeps the people evangelizing it. The crazy people, I think Saylor's nuts. I think he's basically manic. I think he's not sober in terms of his attitude. I don't know about his personal life, but he just is so drunk on Bitcoin.
What you call drunk, people would call conviction.
No, I have conviction and stuff, but I think that part of conviction is acknowledging, the downside. And, there's no perfect investment. And, I think it's really disingenuous for him to tell the people that there's no late time to buy Bitcoin. The 100,000x is over, man. We're never getting that again. If Bitcoin took over the entire financial system, it's maybe a 10x. So, it's a bit silly to sort of say, you got to get in Bitcoin. What you're trying to get people to mark up your position is what you're trying to do. And you don't see him sitting there saying, let's put Bitcoin in payments, because it can't be used in payments. He's not, so to me, I think Saylor's a bit of a charlatan. Again, I appreciate his evangelism of Bitcoin, but
he was very harsh on Bitcoin and Saylor, but he's not wrong. Think about it. If all this technology that is a threat to Bitcoin existed when Satoshi wrote the white paper, why would he have built it that way? Was it built to fail at some point in the future? And some would argue that it was created by David Schwartz and a few others from Ripple as well. But the one thing that he said is that it's bullshit enough that people believe. The belief will die when XRP flips Bitcoin's market cap. And there is a very, very good chance that that is going to happen in this run. Once that happens, the belief will die. XRP will be talked about everywhere. I'm talking they will be amping it up on the mainstream media news every single day as long as it holds that #1 spot. And then future investors, they will be like, okay, well, even if Bitcoin does recapture the #1 spot, XRP flipped it once, so it will flip it again at some other point. So the money would definitely shift when that happens. And that's what I see coming. The fact that they think XRP is a scam is laughable at this point, because now we're starting to get that institutional adoption. We know banks have been working with Ripple in the background. The case was designed to slow down Ripple because I don't think the banking system was ready yet for something like RippleNet and XRP. But once this cryptocurrency breaks out, you will see clip after clip of all these people saying they were totally wrong about XRP. Wait and see. Then President Trump posted this: Biden has been dead since 2020. There is no Joe Biden executed in 2020. Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineers, soulless, mindless entities are what you see. What do you think of that? You know, everybody said it was a conspiracy theory all during the bear market. When I even pointed out in a few videos, I said, this guy doesn't even look like the real Joe Biden. People said, you're crazy. That's all conspiracy theory. Now, it looks like it was conspiracy fact after all. But who knows? All I know is this: XRP is going to make XRP holders very wealthy in the coming months. And as it's happening, things are going to change very fast in this space. Everybody is going to be talking about XRP once it goes parabolic. But until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.